All right, it is time for more stories on the go. All right, okay, so I want to talk about some stories in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is one of my favorite countries I've ever been to. It's so amazing. And there's been so many experiences that I had there that were fantastic and some that weren't so exciting. Let's talk about some of these. One was the night hiking. So I lived in Almaty. And Almaty is a incredible city with so much to do, so much culture, so much vibrance. There's very expensive things to do, not so expensive things to do, great food, everything. It's fantastic. So, in Kazakhstan, one of the things that I really enjoyed doing was night hiking. So what I would do is, on a Friday, I would be done teaching, and if you don't know about Almaty, it's sort of on a slope, the city, as it reaches up into the Teachr mountains. So on a Friday, after work, I'd go up at night, hiking into the Teachr mountains, approaching, let's say, Kyrgyzstan, getting somewhat close to it. And the border there between Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan is the Teachr mountains. And it's a beautiful mountain range. So I would go up at night, just taking my time. And I love night hiking because, you know, it's calm, it's quiet, different wildlife is out. The moon lights your path instead of the sun. You don't get overheated. Psychologically, it's easier. You know, if you look up and you see far away this mountain you have to climb, it can be very daunting and tire you out psychologically. So when you can't see it, you just put one step in front of the other and you just keep hiking and hiking, before you know it, you're at the top of way before you ever realize that you've climbed that far. This is the beauty of night hiking, one of the many beauties. The other thing that I like about night hiking is just the fact that there aren't so many people out on the trail. It's just you pretty much alone on the trail. Sometimes you'll pass some tents, some people who are just staying there, but overall, it's a beautiful, beautiful experience at night. So I go up at night, and there are snow leopards up there, but I never did see one. I wasn't very skilled at that time in tracking snow leopards. Snow leopard, I'm sure, saw me cliffs and cliffs and cliffs, ridges and ridges and ridges and ridges way before I ever saw it. So never had any luck seeing a snow leopard, but there was this one time when I was going up at night, and I started hearing some wolf calls. It was on a ridge line parallel to the one I was climbing up. And I heard the wolf, and it was cool. I love wolves. It was amazing. And so the wolf was calling, and I was going up, but it kept getting closer and closer as I was going up. And then I remembered that the two parallel ridge lines come up and meet at the top. So it seemed that the wolf was tracking me at some... At some point then, also, on my right-hand side, so this whole time I was seeing it on the left hand, hearing it on the left side, so this whole time I was hearing it on the left side, then all of a sudden, I heard another one on the right-hand side, another wolf calling, and they were closing in, getting closer, closer, closer. Now, with my experience now with wolves, thanks to Vadim Sidorovich in Belarus, links in the description below on all those trips that I've had there and all my training under him, I would not at all have fear, and I would know what to do now. But at that time, I hadn't done that training with him, so I didn't know anything about wolves yet. And so I was scared, legitimately scared. I had a big knife with me, but that's it. And I'd hiked so long through the night that it didn't really make sense to go down. I was above the tree line, I was in the snow, I was like, I'm really out in the open, I should be able to protect myself. I'll just set up my tent. So I set up my tent, put in the stakes, crawled in bed that night, had my knife ready, scared, crouched in the corner, fetal position of my tent, and I heard scratching on my tent, but it was also windy that night. So who knows what fact and fiction is? So who knows what fact and fiction is in terms of what actually happened to my tent? But when I woke up in the morning, unzipped the tent, walked out, wolf tracks were circling my tent, a ton of tracks, and they went off. Oh my God, how amazing to be up in the Teachr mountains in Kazakhstan, 3,000-ish meters, and to be alone that night with the wolves overlooking the city of Almaty that glows at night. My God, what an experience, what an amazing time. Of course, the night hiking experience wasn't the only thing Another interesting thing was the kinds of things you would experience on these hikes in Kazakhstan. So one interesting hike that I would do all the time was the Monastery Hike. Hiking up to this beautiful monastery. There were some monks that were up, just way up in the mountains. And it was so, so beautiful. The monastery was amazing. You had to take off your shoes, cover your head, and go in. Women had to cover their heads and go in to the monastery and experience it, and you know, say a prayer or two. One time I brought my cello up there. I used to play the cello, and I had a carbon fiber cello, and I'd hike it up to the monastery and play like Bach up there, and it was just really, really cool. So there's just something special about being on a climb, and as you get to the top, having something like a monastery, it makes an already spiritual nature type experience all the more spiritual and all the more special, all the more beautiful. Another thing that was interesting going up into the mountains was the castle that I found. So there's a link in the description below to the video of me finding the castle up in the mountains. This man, in 1993, when Kazakhstan became independent, this man went to go get his passport, went to go get his ID, his Kazakh ID, and come to find out he had done some criminal activity, and Kazakhstan wouldn't let him get any ID. And so out of rebellion to this frustration, he then went into the mountains and by hand built his own castle, stone by stone. And he had been building it since 1993. This thing was huge, a massive rock castle along the side of the river. Again, check out the video below. It's amazing. And I got to go meet him, and through a translator was able to understand a little bit of his story. And yeah, I found it. Not me personally. A soldier found it, and I went hiking with a soldier, and he brought me up and showed me this thing. And very few Kazakhs even knew that there was this castle up there in the mountains. The man has since passed on, but his legacy, this castle lives on, and it's just incredible, especially the story behind it, you know? And so that's another thing that's very interesting in the mountains that I would see. Another thing that was super interesting up in the mountains that we came across in Kazakhstan was this toilet. I'm serious, it's a toilet way at the top of the mountains on the edge of a cliff. You could sit down in a toilet and it was open, like facing the whole ridge, the whole space, open. So I'm sitting there, go to the bathroom, and you could just, the whole mountain's in front of you. It was hilarious. I loved it so much. It was fantastic. I have a video for it, but I haven't put it on YouTube. So no link in the description below for that. But just really cool. The kinds of things you would see up in the mountains. Sometimes on rare occasions you could even come across some wild horses. Kazakhstan is such an amazing, fantastic place to explore, especially up in the mountains. Traveling Teacher here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscription button and the notification bell button below. Make sure you like this video. And for more content, stay tuned. Check out this playlist. Check out that subscription logo there. Keep traveling.